Hello everyone, this is Otis Collier. This is 1/3 of the group O.C.D, obviously Otis. And today we're going to present you with a new project. It's called O2, the place where human movement and the Y merges. So what this project is going to do is basically give you a little insight on how the O of the group think, or how I think and how I approach common movement issues, and how I suggest uncommon solutions based on science. So the topics we can range from anywhere from neck pain to hip pain, back pain, to running mechanics or the foot, what the topic we're going to be talking about today. So each week I'm going to have a series of questions that I've gotten from patients, from friends, from clients, from all over different places, and I'm going to try to funnel them into the topic we talk about today, and I'm going to try my best to squeeze in the most prudent topics. So all the OG O.C.D fans, no worries, we're coming with season 2 of the podcast and different other stuff. We just had a little hiatus, little break on my end. I just had a newborn within the last 2 months, so my house has been kind of cuckoo whack whack, so I had to try to build in the schedule and kind of get everything settled. And I know Chris, he's doing other things. He's in the process of shifting his lifestyle, as well as Daryl. So all of us needed a little break from it. But we coming back strong, I promise you. We did not forget about any of you OGs. And also people that are new to this, you can always go to our social media, the group social media. I have that link at the end of this conversation. But yes, please stay tuned, follow, subscribe, like. Okay, so week 1. The topic for week 1 we're going to be speaking about is the foot. So the actual title of the topic is called Your Foot Ain't a Foot. What do I mean by that? So because of the past 18 months, if you haven't been living on the rock, COVID, right? So we just really almost close to a year been able to get back into indoors. But because of COVID, I've seen a lot of people kind of steer to running or outside activities, running, jogging, even walking, jumping rope, stuff of that nature. Well, a lot of that has to do with the foot, all right? And because of the increase of running and all that, I've been personally seeing a lot of people with feet. Even people that's active, that's running, old people that are more seniored or more seasoned than me, their feet, people do not take care of their feet. They don't pay attention to their feet. They wear shoes that are tight, or they just kind of ignore it. And at the end of the day, we have bunions, we have corns, we have feet that look like this, except for that. So all type of things is going on with their feet. So today we're going to discuss foot mechanics. We're going to discuss the importance of proper foot mechanics, and how to know if your arches, the arches that you put in your shoes, are doing more harm than good. And we're going to go over referring the same strategies of referring the same strategies of robbing you of human movement. So all that last movement means is what things are you doing that might be hampering your optimal human movement strategies. Okay. So I do have a pepper list of questions. But briefly, let's go into the mechanics of the foot. Okay. So let's pretend my hand is the foot. Let's pretend this is the ground. All right. So let's go this way. It's a little easier. Pretend this is the ground. This is like the inside of the foot. This is the heel. This is the toe. So most people, when their feet are on the ground, they kind of claw like that. All right. So when you claw like that, your foot is not very stable, okay? So if this is the ball of your big toe and this is your heel, you kind of want the heel and the ball of your big toe to be into the ground. When you claw like that, it's not very stable. You don't feel like you can put a lot of weight and oomph on this foot. So you don't really want to use that as a proper mechanic, okay? What you really want to do is kind of the ball under your big toe, that little joint right there, you want to kind of press down into the ground. Think of it like you're pressing on a scale, not trying to grab the scale, but you want to kind of press down on the scale, right? So I'm going to turn this way so you can see it better. You want to press down on the scale like that. So not like this, but like that, not through your toenails. So when you press that on the scale, if you look at the wrist here, you're gonna see the heel, the outside of the heel, based off this model right here. You're gonna see it kind of A-B duck, shoot outwards. All right. So when you see it shoot outwards, I'll turn this way again. You see it shoot outwards, you're gonna see my hand, the arch kind of picks up a little bit. All right. And then we're gonna use these bones to kind of pull it up like that. So you're gonna have a proper active arch. Right. So this is the proper foot mechanics you need to have during a particular stage of the gait cycle. So the stage that emphasizes is the stance part of gait cycle. So there are three stages to briefly go over this. There's the heel strike, there is mid stance, and there's toe off. All right. So that foot mechanics that I just explained to you is really built for mid stance. All right. So basically, the stance, the part of your foot is mainly the most contact on the ground, and you can bear the most weight on it. Now there are other things that needs to happen at the foot complex, the ankle, the knee, the hip, the pelvis, and so on and so forth, all the way up to make sure everything is stacked appropriately. But if your foot is not set up properly, everything else can be altered, maybe not in the good way. All right. So most people feel that once they have an improper foot, or we're going to call it a non-active foot. So there's a difference between an active foot, the strategy I just kind of explained to you briefly, and a non-active foot. A non-active foot, it just kind of falls in the bad word we're going to call pronation. FYI, pronation is not bad. It's supposed to happen during your feet. It's supposed to pronate and be able to supinate. It's just not supposed to be able to fall in pronation and stay there. Okay, the body is supposed to be able to oscillate out of pronation and supination. So it's being stuck in supination is also a bad thing as well. So yes, so the foot is not supposed to pronate and stay there. That's what we call a inactive foot, a passive foot, a sloppy foot, whatever you want to call it, whatever word you want to give to it. All right, so you want to be able to have the arch collapse, and then you want it to be able to rise up in particular parts of the gait. Okay, so if it's kind of stuck in one position, it might do more damage than good, which kind of segues into arches. Now, my disclaimer, I am not a podiatrist, I'm not a medical doctor. I can't tell you if you should or should not have arches, and should or should not take your arches away and stuff like that. Talk to your medical doctor. I can't give you that. However, what I can say is the people that I've worked with, when I've taught them how to have an active foot and not a sloppy foot, for some particular reason, they feel that they can go without having the arch. They feel like the arch within their shoe is doing more harm than good. All right. So when you learn how to, have an active foot, you can entertain the idea of maybe going without an arch. But like I said, you have to kind of gauge that and assess that and calibrate that as you go on. So that's that. What else? So one of the questions I've gotten about feet and running and stuff of that nature is flat feet. So I kind of briefly went over flat feet. So flat feet, we're going to say, is a foot that is a sloppy foot or a passive foot that's kind of stuck in pronation. So when you're stuck in pronation, a lot of things happens up the chain. So if you're stuck in pronation, it's not uncommon to have inside knee pain. Why? If your foot, so pretend this is the foot, all right, and up top of it, it's the knee. This is the knee, bang. So if the foot, I'm looking crazy on the camera right now. So if the foot kind of drops down, all the parts on the inside of the foot here takes the load, because there's no load here. This is the floor. There's no load here. All right, it's not an active foot like that. All right, no load. When it has no load, all the gravitational pull, the forces go to the next joint up, which is what? Knee. particularly inside of your knee. So your inside of knee is starting to behave like a foot. Hence the title of this week 1. Your foot ain't a foot if it's not an active foot. If you can't have an active foot, you don't have a foot. You have something else. I don't know, but it's not a foot. So you need to be able to have an active foot. So I'm going to kind of go into the questions a little bit and see what we got and answer what we got. So the first question is there such thing as a low pack running? No. No. To keep it simple, no. There's no such thing as low pack running. The whole concept of running, I'm going to switch running out for jogging. If you're doing low pack, you're probably not sprinting. If you were sprinting, you'll probably know it's not low pack. So I'm going to go over the people that are jogging or power walking. No, there's no low pack running, particularly for the foot sake. Because of the gait cycle and how it works, you're still putting forces, G forces on this leg, on this foot, and you still need to be able to contain it. So there is no particular low pack. There are lesser impact running or jogging, high walking, yes, compared to sprinting, yes, absolutely. But is there low impact? No, there is no such thing as low impact. Okay, so the next question is, how do flat feet affect your ankles? How do they affect your longevity of runners? Once again, we kind of went over this, but flat feet, like I said, it's not just flat feet. Flat feet or pronated feet that can come out of pronation and go into supination at a certain part of the gait cycle, it's necessary to have a healthy foot and more so a healthy and proper running mechanics for longevity. Because if you think about it, if you're running, 5 miles, like a marathon, not 5 miles, something like that, and each mile you're taking an arbitrary number, let's say 15,000 steps or 1,500 steps per mile, and you times that by 5, that's that much repetitive force that you're doing on your body, on your foot. And if your foot is not resilient enough to handle that force and to be active on a certain part of the gait cycle to handle it appropriately and then push off with your toes, the big toe particularly, and do other things, then no. Longevity is going to decrease because you're going to start having other boo-boos. What I mean by other boo-boos, I already mentioned medial pain on the inside of the knee, the medial aspect of the knee. You can have hip pain because you are not properly loading this foot properly. Your outside of your hip might not be loading properly when you push off. So when you're compensating that, you might have neck pain, shoulder pain. I've seen people have oblique pains and all types of interesting things because their feet are not appropriately accepting the ground the way it needs to. It's not adapting to the ground. A foot needs to be able to adapt to the ground. Does that make sense? So to kind of clear that up, so a foot that's stuck, like I explained before, in the gait cycle, the foot has different responsibilities or different actions during different parts of the gait cycle. A stuck foot, a non-healthy, a non-adaptive foot, let's say a foot, for example, that's stuck in arches, which is only supination. It alters your gait regardless of the condition of the floor, regardless if it's like terrain or flat or you're going barefoot, you have cushion. If it's stuck, if it cannot move, it alters your gait, period. Okay? So it doesn't allow the foot to sense change. All right? The nervous system adores sensation. It loves sensation. Particularly is very sensitive to change, meaning hot, cold, hard, soft, stuff like that. It's contrary, but it likes to feel change. The more the foot can feel, the longer the brain can sense the foot change, the better is able to sense that and kind of troubleshoot it. So if it's stuck, it doesn't get all that delicious feedback, the sensory feedback from the ground, or particularly your foot, which cause it to not become a foot anymore. It comes like one block, all right? So it comes one block. It's like 26, 27 bones in the foot. And if the brain doesn't understand that it has that many bones in the foot that it can adjust, it becomes like one block. yeah, you have a problem, and you're not going to have very long longevity running if your foot can't do that. Okay, so that's why it's very, very important for the foot to be active. It shouldn't be stuck in one situation. Okay, so I hope that answered that question of longevity. Basically, if you have an adaptive foot, your longevity increases. If it's a foot that's stuck either in pronation or supination, longevity is not, it decreases. All right, it's going to decrease. Okay, so what are some correctives for flat feet that can have a positive effect on runners? Okay, once again, you have to be able to sense your foot. A strong foot without a plan is still not a foot. You can strengthen the muscles all you want, but the brain doesn't know what to do with this foot. Still not a foot. It's just a strong block. All right, you just make the block stronger. You just strengthen dysfunction. All right, so you have to kind of attack the dysfunction of where you're having problems at. So most people have problem not sensing the change of pronation and supination of that nature. So you kind of have to spend time with your feet. Do what babies do and kind of play with your toes. If your toes, for instance, think of your hand as a foot in my earlier example. If you think of your hand as your foot and your fingers or your toes, this is like your big toe, pinky, so on, etc. If your feet needs to be able to do the same thing as your hands, spread, right? I guarantee if you just take your shoes off right now and try to keep your feet flat on the ground, try to spread your toes away from your finger, spread your toes away from each other, like these fingers are right here, you're gonna trouble. You're gonna have problems. Most people are gonna claw it. They're gonna try to grab like this, like Freddy Krueger, versus spread it. If you look at a baby, I don't know, whoever has a baby, like a newborn, toddler, stuff like that, you'll see that their big toe spreads out. It spreads out nicely. Their feet look like a duck web. I mean, a duck's feet is like a web. It covers a lot of surface area. That's important because the more area that the foot can sense underneath itself, the better it's able to sense change, the better it's able to have stability and control that area that's under itself, if that makes sense. It should. So if you can have a strong foot, but if your brain doesn't know what to do with this foot, it can't troubleshoot what the environment is giving it to troubleshoot. So it can't be adaptive. So that makes sense. So one suggestion I would say is practice getting your toes to spread. You can easily just put your fingers between your toes and get a toe spreader. It's going to be so painful for a lot of people because they're not used to their feet being spread. Some people even have trouble going barefoot. So if you're one of those people that never go barefoot, I would invite you with the idea of going barefoot, maybe even for a minute in the house at a time, nothing crazy, just to have your feet sense the ground. Your feet are probably, if you never go barefoot, your feet have never touched the ground, so used to cushion or not having that ground sensation, and you'll be amazed of what you can feel. All right, it might take some time for you to feel your feet. You might be apprehensive, you don't want to do it. Try sitting down, just have your feet touch the ground and just feel how the ground feels. However, and once you get past that, you can go for toe spreaders to help with your toes spreading out. Those are good, easy strategies. You don't really have to think too much. You're kind of giving sensation to the foot passively, but you can't stop there. Once you get that, then you have to practice on making an active arch. Eventually, I'll maybe release a video to kind of show you the steps and drills of how to do that, but you have to have an active arch, and it's a certain way how you create that active arch. All arches are not created equal, so you must follow a certain sequence of getting that arch. You can't just create an arch, or you can't just create an arch. You have to go through a certain thing and sense a certain muscles participating in the drill, or you're probably not doing it right. Because if you do it incorrectly, you're going to probably encounter bunions if you do an arch that's localized, meaning just in the foot. The arch muscles in the back of the leg is called the post tib, it needs to participate in creating an arch. If you don't feel muscles going up the back of your leg, you're probably not doing it correctly, and you're probably leaving a lot on the table that can be utilized to maximize this foot. Okay, so hope that answer those questions right there. So these are just the common things I'm getting with feet. If you have any comments or suggestions to talk about, you can easily reach out to me. The email is ocdversus@gmail.com. That's ocdversus@gmail.com. You can easily tag me on Instagram as well. You can tag the Instagram account as well. Any one of us can look at it. If you have any questions for us, that's fine. It's O.C.D versus on Instagram. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Every week I'm going to try to put out more and more content, particularly on YouTube. I'm going to try to get a little bit more content on Instagram. I'm going to try to be a little bit more active. I know I've been in the cave a lot. You really don't see me on social media, but I'm going to try my best to put out more content, in particular about things that people are accounting to. Okay, so once again, this is Otis, 1/3 of the O.C.D, and this is the O2 show, a place where human movement and the Y merges. And the purpose of this is to kind of give you uncommon solutions to common problems, movement issues, based off of science. Okay, this is Otis. Take care. Be well.